It's an interesting question, what makes a successful retailer. Now, if you're waiting for the national lottery numbers, then I think you're in the wrong place. However, what I can tell you is share my experience having worked in the convenience sector in various capacities as chair of the Retail Council, with Musgrave and latterly with Booker, and of course running my shop. One of the things I found is that you never stop learning, as market is always changing, and you've heard lots of speakers this afternoon explain that to you. People's taste, shopping habits change. If you don't follow those changes, then you will fail. Blaming the multiples for your problem is quite easy, but sometimes the problem lies on your doorstep. In other words, you're no longer selling the things people want. Ambient groceries, as you know, has been in decline for quite some time, considerable time, and yet you find shops with 6 different types of salt powder and tomato ketchup. Well, who wants them? I think you need to seriously see what you're doing. Chill, food to go, snacks, alcohol is the main reason why people come to the convenience store now. Visiting as many stores as possible, and of course having a credible IT solution. Store visits often motivates you to try new things. Finding new categories that may work for you. I started doing Polish and East European foods a little while back, and now it's one of the biggest category shop, producing over £2,000 of retail a week. I think it's important that you start looking at new categories, finding new businesses, new categories within the business that you need to start looking at. British people are always familiar with the ranges that they see, range in Lidl and Aldi all the time. So the idea somehow that you don't have a lot of East Europeans living in your area, you might want to rethink. And very often you find that you'd be surprised how many British people, indigenous people, are actually buying, because this is what they go to Lidl and Aldi for. And I think those brands are now very familiar. In some ways, Lidl and Aldi has done us a favor that they're now familiar with all this East European stuff. IT reporting tools is very important, something that you really need to start getting into it, because that's how you're going to assess your businesses. There's no other way of assessing your business other than having a reporting tool, so that at least you know what you're selling in your business. And using EPOS system as glorified till really is not the answer. Relationship with a Symbol Group is very important, because you cannot cost effectively do all the things that the Symbol partners can provide in terms of offering all the products that you need in today's markets. Now, cash and carries cannot provide the range that you need in terms of chill and fresh that delivered wholesale can. It is also important that you spend as much time in your business as possible instead of chasing managers, especially in a cash and carry, to basically save that proverbial pound, which is not going to help you at all. Now, you know the market's changing, the cash and carries are changing as well, and I think the multiple is going to become the cash and carries of the future, and this is where our relationship lies in all seriousness. I think we should join a Symbol Group, it doesn't matter which one, but you really need to have that relationship and the professionalism that is required. And in my opinion, I think the old-fashioned cash and carries in 5 years' time will probably not exist anyway, because the multiples have discovered that there is no money in the convenience sector because they can't cost effectively make a lot of money. Instead, they want to all become wholesalers. And you can see Morrison's wants to become a wholesaler, and so does Tesco, dare I say. So understanding demographic is very important, and you may not realize, but the needs of your customers have changed. And you may not notice that 5% possibly declining sales a week, or a month or a year may not be much, but in 10 years' time, 50% of your business could be wiped out. So perhaps, I think all I can say is that we really need to start looking at people and start experiencing other people's experiences as well, and go and see as many stores as you can, really.
We have a group of convenience stores and CTNs around East London, so they're very close together. We've established our unique brand because our stores are in overlapping catchment areas. So our customers know our stores. They have a similar look, feel about them. They're also category managed and laid out in similar fashions. We are price competitive on key products to act as footfall drivers for us. We have tailored local planograms we make in-house for main categories in store, such as alcohol, tobacco, soft drinks, confectionery, and snacks, to name a few. This really works for us. It gives us near 100% availability on really key target categories, and that's what we strive for. For example, tobacco. At the moment, last 2 months, we have had 99% availability across all the lines that we hold as must stocks. We've introduced our own stock checking forms. After we went dark and after plain packs were introduced, a lot of retailers delisted a lot of slow lines or maybe forgot about them. But we didn't. And whereas before we'd sell maybe 1 or 2 packs a week, we are not now selling 2 or 3 times that because retailers in our area have delisted them or forgotten to restock them. So we are now a destination for tobacco, likewise in beers, wines and spirits. We needed a point of difference. So we looked at our customers, asked them what they wanted, and we realized that we were lacking in sandwich and snacking. So we came up with Made with Love, our own range of premium in-house sandwiches and snacking items. They are made by us in our cafe, delivered to the stores daily. We use premium ingredients with bespoke packaging, and we charge premium prices, which means more margin for us. We also have artisan breads in store. Again, higher prices, 30% margin. That's £1 a loaf. Traditional sweets, we bought CTNs over the years, and CTNs would, you'd think traditional sweets weighed out, but we couldn't do that. The hygiene, the dates, because we bought a store and we took it over in the stock check. Half of those bottles were out of date. How do you control that? We still wanted that look of a traditional CTN, so we decided to pack our own range. We now have 100 variants that we pack at a £1 price point in resealable tubs, and we sell hundreds and hundreds a week. Another point of difference is we have in-store ATM that dishes out Bitcoins. This gives us a rental. We don't get commission from it. But we realize that people come from far and wide, from outside of our catchment areas to use this machine. And unlike traditional footfall drivers such as PayPoint and Lottery, if you had a prepaid gas meter in your house, you're more than likely to be a budget-conscious consumer. So you don't have the extra money in your pocket to buy on something else as the impulse purchase. But hopefully with this Bitcoin ATM machine, and we've seen the results, customers have thousands of pounds to deposit. So they may buy a bottle of Ciroc or something else. Because our stores, again, they're so close together, we've introduced Zapper loyalty platform. This enables us to get customers coming back, spending more often. We've seen customers that come in 3-4 times a day, especially with targeted promotions that are text to their phones. They use all of our stores, and we can get insight and data from their daily shopping habits. We take responsible retailing very seriously. Apart from the community aspect of it and our civic duty, is the fact that our alcohol license, we hold them especially valuable to us. Our stores in the boroughs that we work in, they're really after people's licenses. They want to impose restrictions and conditions. I can gladly say that we have minimal restrictions on our alcohol licenses, whereas competitors around us, they have so many restrictions, such as 2 staff at all times. But when you think of a small CTN with an off license, it's not viable to have 2 members of staff from 6 a.m. in the morning. Ongoing training with staff access to as much material as they need, around the counter to take home with them, staff handbooks. We have a lot of staff over the years that, English isn't their first language. So we've had it translated into Gujarati and Hindi, which helps them understand the legislation better. We constantly check them in-house with quizzes, test purchases, and we've been successful so far with it. Quick points to take away. Don't compete on everything. Concentrate what you're good at and what will bring an additional footfall and what will bring you the best returns. Keep your customers interested. Introduce new things like technology, changing the store around, in-store theatre. Find your points of difference, be it one of the ones I've listed or something else. There's so many. Ideas are infinite, but time is finite, so you choose yours. Also, be quick to capitalize on NPD and trends. It also acts as in-store theatre, but you can really gain from the quick returns.
Terry Mansfield again. Could I ask you both a little more about in-store theatre? I hear it all the time. What does it mean for you, and how does it work, and how do you change the value of what's going on with in-store theatre?
Okay.
So we we use seasonal events as a big source of our in-store theatre. You know, be it Halloween, Christmas, Valentine's Day. You know, years ago, Halloween, when we started doing displays for it, we didn't sell much from it. You know, we weren't a point for people to come to buy Halloween outfits and costumes and masks and whatever. But we just put it because we knew just by stocking those on a shelf, purpose made with decorations around it, made customers look at it and say, wow, and kids say, mummy, look at that, great. They may not buy that, but they'll come in there to look and they'll buy something else.
In-store theatre is your business 12 months a year. I think you need to make your business look 12 months of the year and not necessarily just do it on the odd day when some function arrives or Christmas is there. I think Christmas and all those functions are equally important to create a bit of theatre, but I think your shop is a theatre 12 months of a year and concentrate on the categories, new categories, make it really, really attractive to people. And I think that's probably the way I look at it. And I know it sounds a bit holistic rather than your specific answers to how do you create in-store theatre, but that's the way I would look at the business.
So when you introduced European food into your store or stores,
Yeah.
did you start then offering sampling to people who came into
Not
your...
necessarily. We just started in a small way, and it just grew. And this is what I mean when I say you need to start finding new categories, within your business. And you'd be surprised, people say, well, I don't have East Europeans living in my area. But like I said to you earlier, Lidl and Aldi's done us a favor, introduced these brands that people are not familiar with. Now they're quite happy to buy those brands. And these are British indigenous people buying brands, not necessarily East Europeans. And I think half of my stuff's actually sold to the indigenous people and not necessarily East European in my store. And so I think this is what I mean by, it's all about trial and error. I'm not suggesting that it's going to work in every store, but if you try 10 different things, and if you find that 2 happens to be your star performance, then you start, building on your strengths rather than your weaknesses.
Well, that's interesting. So you started the Eastern European side of the business, which is what, £2,000 a week now?
That's
I think
correct,
it's
yeah.
bringing in.
Yeah.
So incredibly successful. But do you have a large Polish community in your area?
Well, we do, but I think we've become destination stores. Now, I know people use that word destination, and by destination, people now within the whole of Bracknell knows that we've got a fairly large range. And very often I attract people outside my customer base. And so I think you could end up in those kind of scenarios where, you don't know, you don't ask every customer where they live, do you? But I find out through experience in talking to people that they're not local, they're actually come outside the area. So I think you'd be amazed that once you've got a specialist area within your store, you'd be surprised how many customer you're going to attract from outside. At the end of the day, that is your USP. Rather than directly, like Mark was saying earlier, rather than directly challenging the multiples on head-on by having 6 different types of ketchup, you need to start completely change your mindset and what you're doing today.
And Kay, you've done that very successfully, it seems, when it comes to the implementation of technology and trying to sort of find ways of keeping consumers on your side with the very latest in gadgets, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a gadget man myself, and from the IGD piece there, you could see that younger customers like technology and they don't mind paying a bit more. So if you can get them in with the wow factor, they'll buy something more than they were going to. So I have people queuing up at that Bitcoin ATM. I have actually half of the queue is just people that come to look at it and take a picture of it. But it's all about the footfall at the end of the day. So if they come and take a picture, why not? Let them buy something else on the way out as well,
Exactly. So your Bitcoin machine is the equivalent of what tobacco was 10 years ago?
Exactly, yeah.
Kieran from Londis Bexley. What is a Bitcoin ATM? Because it's the first time I've heard of the phrase, and I'm sure quite a few people here are nodding their heads saying, what the hell is Bitcoin
And isn't Bitcoin likely to become illegal quite soon?
But that's the thing. So it's I wouldn't say grey area, but there's no legislation around it. So I see it, initially when the company came to me and proposed this, I thought, you need your contracts in place with me and, where my liabilities lie because, people could use this for wrong purposes, obviously
Sure,
black market,
exactly,
whatever.
yeah.
But it was just a straightforward renter agreement. They put it on, all liabilities are theirs. I get £200 a month. But again, that is nothing compared to the footfall that it brings in. So the first generation, this is the second generation machine we've got. The first one was a buying Bitcoin only before. Now it's vending only. Now you can deposit funds into it as well. So deposit and withdraw, yeah. So it's
Fascinating.
hard to describe it, but it works.
But it works. That's
Yeah.
the bottom line. All right, we're going to leave it there. Kay Patel, Arjun Mayer, our guests. Thank you.
Okay.